I'm gonna give y'all a little recap of some of the redemption process that we had to do as the collective nations. We had to reclaim the 10 square miles called Washington, D.C. by erecting a totem pole that restored the embassy of the legal fiction back to the tribes to have jurisdictional authority over D.C. You can look it up on YouTube. They traveled from the West Coast all the way to D.C. and erected the totem pole in 2017 in order for us to assert our jurisdiction within the 10 square miles. Because the tribes that are involved are non-treaty tribes, it goes to the Department of Defense because it becomes a national security issue that they have to contend with. So all of the tribes have selected different chiefs in order for us to exercise the process of reclaiming what's ours. So once they erected that totem pole, now they can do business under the Indigenous Rights Act of the United States, the Indigenous Rights Act of the United Nations, and continuity of government. FEMA is a process that they can interact with the Department of Defense and Department of National Security in order to secure the tribal rights as we dismantle the corporate and legal fiction, because they knew that it was coming, so they erected the totem pole. We also had to find on our land the head of the legal fiction, which was called the Pope, and put him on public notice. This was done by a young lady up in Canada named Sipico. And she put him on notice, and his response to her notice was to rescind what's known as the Discovery Doctrine. As I mentioned earlier, the Discovery Doctrine is the foundation for all colonization of the European nations around the world. So once he rescinds that, then everybody's stuff is up to be returned. So the Pope rescinded the Discovery Doctrine. Then another thing that a lot of people miss when I was telling them that we had to reclaim City Hall was the ceremonial Muscogee Creek Nation went in on behalf of the spiritual Muscogee Creek, which means the original, put Atlanta on notice to cease and desist operating on the land. If you don't know what that means, that's because Atlanta was the gateway to the Louisiana Purchase that they used and to set up the Trail of Tears and to settle the interior of the land. Remember, the document that she showed y'all, it was to show y'all the extent of what they was allowed to settle, and they went beyond that and violated that treaty. Once they violated the treaty, then we have two options. We can order specific performance, that means go back to the treaty and abide by the agreement, or we can offer a cease and desist, which is you couldn't do business according to the treaty, so now you gotta go. But they was killing off all of our chiefs that had the blood right to send them packing before they got the opportunity to decide what was going on the land. So also, and there was another one. There was ancient Hopi prophecy that already told y'all the ancestors said that America would come and America would go, right? So we didn't understand that America was never supposed to be a permanent governmental structure for the tribes of the land, but it was just an interim structure put in place in order to allow us the opportunity to rebuild and reconquer the war after the ceasefire of the war. When we went into the sleep state, the Kingu spell, in order for the chiefs to discover if they from this side of the water or the other side. So you had the M-U-U-R, Moor, and the M-A-U-R-I, Moray, who went in under the catch term MOOR, more, into this war for information. And the information they was looking for was to break the conflict between morals and dogma, which was the blueprint by Albert Pike of the game plan. And the doctrine that they was operating under, the doctrine of discovery, the discovery doctrine was called the white man's burden, popularized by a poem by Rudyard Kipling called The White Man's Burden, in which they was to spread Christianity and conquer the world for Emperor Constantine in the name of the cross. In turn, they needed a backstory because people was questioning the doctrine. They created what we call Hebrewism or Judaism as a backstory for the Christian doctrine that they wrote to control the masses of the people. And then they couldn't use those two doctrines to control the people of the Middle East. So the Catholic priests wrote in secret the Quran in order to conquer the people of the Middle East. This is the death of the religions, the restoration of the Great Mother, the restoring of the divine feminine, that sacred Shakti, and putting everything back in its proper balance on the planet. And it's a situation is as above, so below. If we want heaven on earth, we have to work for it. It's not free. The earth from nefarious forces that came from other places with the intent to oppress, undermine, and demean the earthborn. This is why I'm making sure that they understand that I'm organic to the earth. I'm walking Mississippi red clay dirt. Adoma, the ruddy red one. Edom, the rightful heir that they usurp. But now that we know who we are, we know who they are, and we know the difference in the two, thanks to Neely Fuller, we had a codified counter-defense doctrine.
In just 2 weeks.